Hello and welcome to Quoted for Truth. This is the live weekly news wrap-up show where we yell at each other and argue about the week's events. There's a lot of stuff to talk about this week. I'm your host, John Davison. With me is Brendan Sinclair and Tom McShay. I'm pointing to the right people, unlike I did in the pre-show. Sorry about that. This show, it's very important to get you guys involved as well, so you can tweet at us using the hashtag GSQFT. Or you can post in the comments, and Cynthia, our community manager, is watching there. We're live right now on GameSpot, Twitch, and YouTube, so we're watching all of those comments thing, but we're going to jump right in with the big story of the week first, which is that Blizzard had one or two little problems on Tuesday when Diablo 3 launched. There was a teensy bit of a game-breaking bug with, involving shields and demon hunters, but then the big issue that got everyone really pissed off was that the game was down for several hours on Tuesday night. As everyone has been talking about, it needs an internet connection to work. You can't play it offline. Tom, does this do anything to set back always-on DRM, do you think?
No, I think it's actually the exact opposite. I think it makes it stronger, ultimately, because people are complaining. They've been complaining furiously all week, and there's even a fake Twitter account for Error 37. But this is going to be cleaned up, and people will forget this problem ever happened. And then the big publishers are going to jump on this, that they can control everything and have consumers just log into all their games, single player or multiplayer. And that's where the problem starts. They're going to control every aspect of games. And I guess my big issue with this is consumers often are so worried about their immediate fun that they kind of worry about the long-term ramifications of their purchases. So when you have a very anti-consumer game like Diablo 3, people are still buying it in droves even though it's going to set a horrible trend for the future. And yeah, I guess
we complain about it, but we'll still buy it.
Yeah.
And we'll still buy it next time when it comes out.
I know, and then it's going to set the standard.
I think it's the problem is that it's short-sighted for publishers to embrace always-on DRM with that line of thinking, because it's oh well, we can launch it, it'll be fine in a couple weeks, and gamers will get over it. And I think the problem is every time you use the new generation of consoles and the online connections to get more control of the user experience, that control comes at the expense of the user's control. It has to come from somewhere, and whenever the user is inconvenienced because they don't have control that they used to have, that's going to tick them off. And at the start of Diablo 3, who's their launch day? Fans of Blizzard, fans of Diablo, your most loyal hardcore customers. And their experience at launch was that they paid $60 or $100 for this game, and now they can't play it, and it's just that frustration and that awful, sense of I gave you my money, why can't I play your game? And I think that breeds a lot of ill will. So you can get away with it now, but I think in the future it comes back to bite you.
Yeah, I guess one of the things that's scary in the future is what if a game, single player game, online connectivity, what if it doesn't sell that well? Developers pull the server support, and all of a sudden you can't play, Raving Rabbids or something in the future. It's
that would be terrible.
That's the worst thing I could think of. Well, I said the first game I thought of, but once you give companies this kind of power, they can do things with it that we won't.
There is, and they got challenges. I think communicating just what it is they're selling. I had a problem. My personal experience was I hunted for ages, finally got a collector's edition, spent $100. The big box arrived on Tuesday. My wife, who raises her eyebrow at any purchase that I don't clear through her, was so what did you buy? And I was I've been waiting 11 years. It's my favorite game. And then I installed it. It was 8 o'clock at night, and then it didn't work. So trying to explain to her why the thing that I'd spent $100 on wouldn't work was just it was one of those really absurd husband-wife exchanges where it's I don't understand how you have this thing, why did you want it and why doesn't it work? And I think if they want to expand the audience, that's a challenge as well. How do you communicate this thing that you bought has these dependencies to it? So do you think people's feelings about Blizzard will be changed? We just had some pictures of some cosplayers and stuff, people very, very into this franchise.
Yeah.
Blizzard people are loyal to Blizzard. Do you think this is going to ultimately impact loyalty?
I don't, but I guess personally, this doesn't change how I feel about Blizzard. I've been terrified of their design philosophy for the last however many years they've gone down this road. They make games that exploit people's addictive tendencies, basically, and they're about obsession and they're about compulsion more than they're about fun, and it's kind of dangerous and it's kind of creepy because it isn't even about just like, I'm going to just have fun for an hour with friends anymore. It becomes a lifestyle choice where you build, like, your waking hours around how are you going to play this game. So Blizzard as a developer is really talented, but they're talented almost for evil reasons.
It's almost like if Zynga made hardcore games.
Yeah.
It has a lot. I mean, no one wants to say it, but Diablo and Zynga titles, they do have a lot in common. There's like a lot of clicking on stuff. You get a lot of rewards. Difference is that Zynga's servers tend to stay up.
They streamline the user interface and they just keep you engaged. It's about engagement. It's not about fun, like you were saying. But the thing here is that I feel really bad because last week I was like going to bat for Blizzard on like, what do? What does Blizzard do better than anyone else in the industry? They execute. And they did not execute here. This is just, it's a cluster, and I think it will impact them. I think it's a lot like what you're seeing with BioWare. BioWare had a huge loyal fan base. They're bought by EA. People are like, okay, you know, Mass Effect 2 comes out, everyone still loves it. It's still BioWare. But once they had a misstep, like Dragon Age 2, since then, it seems like there's this big backlash against BioWare because all the fans that were disappointed or burned by one part of it, all of a sudden, BioWare doesn't get the benefit of the doubt anymore.
Yeah.
It's more like that's EA BioWare.
Yeah.
And Blizzard now, I think this could easily be the start of like, you know, this is Activision Blizzard now.
Yeah.
People having these problems with the company, they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt they used to. And when you have a loyal, passionate fan base and they turn on you, their bitterness and rancor is going to be just as passionate as their, you know, loyal support was.
Yeah. So the show's called Quoted for Truth. We pull comment from the original story when it ran in news on GameSpot. So Jimmy Burrows said, having read that they spent 2 years polishing the game, you have to find it a little funny. He's sorry for everyone suffering problems, though. Yeah, I mean, like this game, I mean, we wait 11 years, they spend a long time polishing it, and then day one, there's big problems. Other problems, Capcom had some PR issues, let's call it PR issues, around the idea of DLC being on the disc. And they are changing their stance on this. Capcom Senior VP Christian Svensson said this week, "We would like to assure you that we have been listening to your comments, and as such, don't all people say they've been listening to comments when they're up against it? And as such, have begun the process of reevaluating how such additional game content is delivered in future," which means, please forgive us, we're trying to change things. So just so you guys know, just before Street Fighter Cross Tekken came out in March, Capcom admitted that the 12 downloadable, in inverted commas, characters announced as PlayStation Vita exclusives were actually on the discs for the 360 and PS3 versions of the game. And these fighters will be sold for $20, $1,600 Microsoft monies, sometimes after the Vita version comes out. So Brendan, do you think them coming out and admitting that it's like, first step is you admit you have a problem? Do you think that's enough right now?
For one, I think the more important question is, did you just call quote marks inverted commas? But putting that aside for now, I think the phrasing of what they said they were going to do is key here, because they said we are going to rethink how we are presenting, you know, how we are distributing this content to people. And this was what I was saying when this furor erupted. I was like saying all this outrage about on-disc DLC, that's not what we should be arguing about, because when they hear us on that, they'll just be like, oh, they don't like the DLC being on the disc, so let's take it off the disc and force them to download it now. And when they force you to download it, there's no benefit to the user on that. Now you have to download more stuff. It's going to take up space on your hard drive. You might have problems like Mortal Kombat did, where there's compatibility issues between I have the DLC, this guy doesn't, we can't match up. Mm-hmm. So it's like, we complained about on-disc DLC, Capcom heard that and then just took the simplest approach to it, where it's like, okay, well, we'll make you download it, are you happy now? The real problem is the underlying DLC approach, where they're just cutting up the game 6 ways from Sunday and then selling you little bitty pieces of it here and there. And it's, we get a core game now, and the game itself might be sort of complete, but it's always seems so much smaller when you staple on a dozen costume packs and extra characters and just stray stuff that isn't essential to the experience.
Tom, what do you think? they address it?
I agree with everything Brendan said, but I'm going to be a little more optimistic for a change here. Like, Capcom has just burned so many bridges the last few years. It's kind of staggering. They canceled Mega Man Legends 3 and then the DMC fiasco by giving it to a developer who probably isn't capable of making a real DMC game, and just the last Resident Evil game stunk, and Ultimate Marvel came out. I'm really piling on this, but I gotta list this. Like, the fans of Capcom don't like Capcom right now. So Capcom looked at this problem. They looked at message boards feedback, and they said, what are people complaining about? And this DLC was a big problem. So they are not going to do that anymore. So maybe this is like the first domino of them changing to be a better company, and like not flooding the market with fighting games anymore, and not giving Western studios properties that they shouldn't, and all these other mistakes they've made. Maybe this is the beginning of rectifying that. If I'm being really optimistic and a little naive, I could possibly think that. I don't know. It's a start, and it's hard to be angry at them for a start, at least.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Kirk08 said, "Man, I miss the old days when things were unlocked by actually playing the game." He's got a point there, right?
Yeah.
Remember cheat codes?
Cheat codes for unlocking stuff, yeah. All right, so moving on to the next question. All right, so Activision. We were going to talk about the Activision and Infinity Ward heads going toe to toe. There was a real mess here. There were a number of documents that were unsealed at the court about the upcoming trial between the developers and the Activision management. There was an internal investigation against Jason West and Vince Zampella. The documents were made public this week by an LA County Court judge, and there was a senior director of IT called Thomas Fanady, who alleges that Activision's in-house lawyer George Rose asked him to spy on West and Zampella by accessing their work, emails, voicemails, and computer files. And then there's my absolute favorite part of this, which was that there was discussion about obtaining access to their office space by staging fake fumigation and mock fire drills to get into the studio so they can hack into their stuff, which is awesome. That's like the best story this year.
It is awesome.
And his quote was, "I only know it was discussed. I don't think it was acted upon."
Maybe, I don't know.
This is a lesson to you all. If there's ever a fumigation at your office, you need to be careful. So, Tom, how is the balance of power between executives and creators changing, do you think?
First of all, you gotta get in your contract, like, no fire drills ever, no fumigation, I'm just gonna stay here.
With the rats and the fire.
Yes. So it's kind of gotten strange. It's gotten really hostile, for one.
Yeah.
The publishers don't like these developers because they have too much power at this point. And the developers don't like the publishers because they want the creative freedom, and they want like their own IPs, and so they're splintering apart and they're breaking apart. And it's bad for both sides though, because now the developers, the creative types, they have to deal with the business side, and they have to get money, and they don't have the financial backing. Mm-hmm. And if their games bomb now, that's a huge blow. And the publishers are hurt because they don't have the best and the brightest people in the industry making games from anymore. So this hard-headed approach to development has just hurt everybody, mostly the consumers.
Yeah, the publishers aren't going to back the developers' independent efforts the way they would their own things.
Yeah, of course not.
You might notice everything from EA Partners pretty much just gets thrown out a window when no one's looking these days.
There was the report of the Time Splitters 3 developers saying that EA wouldn't market their game because they had GoldenEye Rogue Agent, which was terrible, but it competed directly with their product, so they wouldn't even market it.
Yeah, and the thing that amazes me about this is to think of how far Activision has come, because that company was founded by a bunch of former Atari developers in the days of the 2600 that were tired of Atari's policy of never giving credit to the individual developers of their games. So they're like, you know what? We are artists. We want a piece of the pie. We want our names out there as the creators of this stuff. So they formed Activision, the developer-focused. Electronic Arts was the same way. And now you look at them, and it's like Activision doesn't want West and Zampella. They want Infinity Ward. They want Treyarch. They want Blizzard. They don't make stars out of their developers as much. And it's just like this incredible 180 now to see that they're spying on their developers who they're apparently planning to fire so that they don't have to pay them royalties before Modern Warfare 2
And this whole
comes
thing
out.
had a great name as well.
my
It was
God.
like a true spy drama. It was called Project Icebreaker.
Well, it's like, how are you going to make small talk with West if you don't know all this personal information?
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, you know.
You're in the elevator with a man for 3 minutes. Bobby Kotick doesn't want to have to make up stuff about the weather. He wants to ask the most personal questions.
All right.
Most awkward elevator ride ever.
Well, now, yeah. Like, well, we got a bit of a bug problem, Bobby, but we're not sure we want you to do anything about it. So, quoted for truth on this, Zabuzar from GameSpot, Call of Duty Corporate Warfare is his speculation for the next Call of Duty game from Activision, I guess. Number 4, Devil's Third is in Purgatory at THQ. The publisher is distancing itself from Itagaki's Devil's Third, which is a game you may or may not remember that was announced back in 2010, I believe.
2010.
In their investor conference call this week, the publisher confirmed that it was talking with other companies about taking the first project from Valhalla Game Studios off its hands. So, Brendan, does Itagaki deserve to be a top-tier developer anymore? Has he still got the chops?
I think he does, but it's not
He has the leather jacket still.
the Ed Hardy jacket. Oh, I kind of love Itagaki for that. I think he does as much as anyone out there really deserves to, because we have this sort of the myth of the auteur in the gaming industry, where you have the Peter Molyneux, the Ken Levine, the public figurehead for a AAA game, even though there's hundreds of people involved in making all these games. And my favorite analogy for it is the pyramids. AAA games are like the pyramids because they are wonders of the world. They're amazing accomplishments. They are the result of hundreds of people working in horrible conditions often. It's not quite slave labor in the game
It's like
development world,
Rockstar
but-
Wives confessional here.
Yeah, there's been some issues like that for the glory of one person, and I think it's damaging to have. On the one hand, it's damaging to not give credit properly and to take the work of all these people and attribute it to the one person who's empowered to be like, I think we should do this, and everyone else has to, make that happen. It's disturbing to me that developers actually play into it, though, because you see developers here and there that aspire to be the auteur, that put themselves out there, and it's like, I've got this great idea for a story I'm going to tell you. It's for the fans. It's going to be great. And but on the other hand, it's like, celebrities are good because they give the creators more leverage in dealing with the companies. Someone like Peter Molyneux has more leeway to go, I have a vision and I'm going to go out there and make it happen than normal, random flunk at Infinity Ward right now does.
So THQ have been struggling. 8-Bit Babe there on Twitter said that he should try Atlas. What do you think? Do you think someone should pick this up? Do you think it's dead in the water? What do you think, Bruce?
It actually looks kind of interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have much respect for Itagaki's games because I think that he's all flash and style. He's all boobs. He's all blood, and he hasn't evolved since he figured out the boobs were cool.
Dead or Alive 2 is awesome.
He is stuck in the mud developer who has never proven his worth as someone who's truly great. So I don't think he's a top tier developer. But at the same time, that game looks pretty fun. It looks like it's kind of doing what Anarchy Reigns is, where you have the mechanics of something like a Devil May Cry in a multiplayer environment. If you can pull that off, it would be successful. So I think he might be worth the risk, but I think the chances are this game's going to bomb at retail like most AAA games do, and like everything that THQ touches.
Well, even before that, before we go to the quoting for truth, very quickly, do you think it'll even ever come out? Just one word answer, yes or
Yes.
no? Yes.
It's coming out.
All right.
Definitely. That's my one word.
Definitely?
That's my word.
Wow, okay. Quoting for truth on this, Geeks47 thinks it smells like death to me, so I think there's a vote in the in the no list there. All right, so next up we are going to talk about Epic Games, who were pushing this week for, they're pushing their new engine, Unreal Engine 4. But as part of this, they're demanding a quantum leap in next-gen hardware power. So, Tom, apparently they've seen the specs of PS4 and Xbox 360, and they are now actively lobbying for them to be more powerful. What does that say? And, do you think we should even want even more cutting-edge graphical technology? Do we need it? What's really their agenda here, do you think?
This story is preposterous. I love the idea of them looking at a sheet of paper with the specs, and they're just like, triple that, 10 times higher there, 1,000 times higher. This is preposterous, though, this idea. Because the higher technology, the fancy graphics, that kind of kills the middle tier developers. Because they can't keep up with people like Activision who have tons of money for this stuff. And Epic's side in this, it's kind of sinister because they make the engine that people have to license to try to keep up with them. So this is not about like making games better, progressing the medium, or anything good. This is all just about making Epic themselves richer. So I hope Sony and Microsoft say, screw off, we're not going to make this more powerful. People don't need that. They don't want that. They want good games.
Like the biggest threat to Epic is if the next generation of systems is completely driven by new interfaces, because companies can take what they already know, and like Epic doesn't offer them any expertise really in dealing with new interfaces in their engine. The thing about this is like I do want there to be maybe not a quantum leap, some other adjective leap in the power, because more tools, better tools, more powerful tools means more options for developers.
Yep.
The caveat with that is that I think developers have pretty powerful tools right now, and they haven't exactly used them to their utmost.
Yeah. So it seems like we are going to see something Unreal Engine 4 related at E3 in a few weeks. But, quoted for truth, Sean Montella from GameSpot says instead of pushing console makers, they should focus on what is already possible now on the PC. Oh wait, Epic abandoned this platform a long time ago. Well, outdated consoles and Cliffy deserve each other then. Wow,
that is
a bit of a troll there, huh?
Great comment. It's perfect.
You
I don't
think?
know what Cliffy B would respond to with that.
I think they should go back. I mean, there's been some rumors that they are.
Is Fortnite going to be PC?
I have no idea. I don't even know. But I mean, they have abandoned them, and
Their roots are in PC, and they should go back. I mean,
know.
like, and they
Epic
can go
Pinball too.
Yeah,
Make it happen.
Unreal Engine powered, so it's all like bump mapped and beautifully lit and particles everywhere.
And the smaller developers can't keep up with the pinball technology. It's unfair.
It's just the blend of physics and particle tech. It's like you want it so it like blows dust off every time the ball hits. Wow. See, you get all like, you're looking all dreamy now. All right, so the end of the show, we do quick hits on news stories. We also want your opinion on these in the comments. So first up, Nintendo released a Mario Kart 7 update this week, which is very unusual for Nintendo. It kills the shortcut exploits that people were using, and if you want to play Mario Kart 7 online now, you must download the patch. So what's your opinion of exploits? Exploits. Is anything that the game allows fair? I mean, should they have patched it, do you think?
I think it is fair, but this is the difference between online and local, because if your friend is exploiting the game in real life, you punch him in the throat. But you can't do that online. Right in the throat, Brendan.
A vote for throat punching there. Brendan, what do you...
I think it's not fair. Using exploits is poor sportsmanship, and I like to think that sportsmanship still exists in some form.
Like throat punching?
Almost like, yes.
Okay.
I am never playing Mario Kart against you, ever. All right, so next, Capcom, in a glorious display this week, and announced a Lost Planet spin-off. One of my least favorite games of this generation. They tapped the Monster Hunter producer, Shintaro Kojima, no relation, to lead development on a beginner-friendly shooter called EX Troopers, which is for PS3 and 3DS because they really want it to succeed. Troopers will sport an anime visual style and tell a school-themed story. This was from a story in Famitsu this week. My question to you guys, seriously? Really? Do we need this? Brendan?
So they took the Monster Hunter producer, the guy that gave them like their most successful new IP in the last 10 years or something, and they stick him on a marketing tie-in spin-off for the third installment of their the least popular shooter franchise in the industry right now.
Maybe
that's being developed by Spark Unlimited.
Somebody off.
You're talking about popularity? It is the worst shooter franchise this generation by far. And Spark Unlimited's last game is Turning Point, bad World War II game, better than Lost Planet 2. So the franchise will actually probably get better with the third entry. But this is...
It's a fair point.
This is not how you win back your fans, Capcom.
It's a really ornate troll.
Not a vote there. All right. So another big story this week. There's not a huge amount to say about it because but it is worth highlighting here. 38 Studios, which you may remember is the the studio from baseball star Curt Schilling.
Of the Bloody Sock fame.
Exactly. And R.A. Salvatore and everyone's favorite toy and comic book artist Todd McFarlane. They didn't pay their employees this week, so they could pay back a loan payment to the state of Rhode Island. This was, of course, the funding for the Kingdoms of Amalur game, which came out a little while ago. Are you surprised? So they took a loan of $75 million from the state, so it's taxpayer money.
Frankly, I'm shocked that they ever got Amalur out the door.
Yeah?
I mean, picture vanity project. Like, this thing had just like horrible debacle written on it for years. And that they did Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning as a triumph of the human spirit, and that they
Wow.
Yes, it is that shocking to me.
Wow.
I think it's funny that they swindled Rhode Island out of this much money, like promising this game would sell like 88 billion copies or whatever preposterous number.
The guy that signed off on it actually did just quit.
Oh, there you go.
So
there you go.
There is some justice in the world.
Yeah.
But apparently they did announce like yesterday that they are still making the MMO somehow.
This is a problem. The governor of Rhode Island said that there's a June 2013 release date for their game. And when you have the governor of your state announcing your stuff for you because you're that in the hole to them,
no pressure.
It's pretty great. I'm going to predict it's a WoW killer.
You think?
This is the one.
Oh,
this is the game.
May have always on DRM though, so it may get beaten up at launch. All right, so Halo 4 will be getting, like many other high-profile games this year, a $100 collector's edition. This will include 9 maps, early access to 6 specializations, which is the sort of Call of Duty stuff that's going to be in this one, the live-action film Unto the Dawn, and a UNSC Infinity briefing packet, which will include diagrams and blueprints and stuff and insight into what it means to be a Spartan soldier and all that kind of guff. Tom, what do you think?
Chutzpah.
You think?
That's the one word I'd use to describe this, chutzpah. They're an unproven developer. They've made nothing but a port of a 10-year-old game. Prove yourself and then I'll give you money.
Wow.
This is ridiculous.
and then you'll give them $100.
Well, no, but I would be willing to. I'm not going to give a developer I don't even know $100 for blueprints and map packs.
It's Halo, come on.
It's a name, but a different team. Why do I care until they prove they can make something great?
Wow.
It's got a point. Halo 2's collector's edition was what burned me on collector's editions forever.
Wow.
What was that one?
It was like a tin case and then behind the scenes footage on
That
a
wasn't
second
the
disc.
cat helmet was 3, right?
Yeah,
Cat helmet.
cat helmet was 3.
It was a little tiny helmet. All right, so last week I completely messed up the sign-off on the live show and had absolutely no idea how to finish it. So I asked for suggestions. So here's what those of you on Twitter came up with. Are you ready for these?
No, I don't.
No, you both look like. All right, okay, so this Dustin wants me to sign off with, "Damn, it feels good to be a gamer." What do you think? No?
I like the way you say it.
I'm not feeling that one.
You're very tough.
All right, Rudiger wants me to really lean into my Englishness and sign off with, "Cheerio, governor."
Oh Lord, maybe that's
Maybe.
better. That's number 1 right now.
Number 1 right now. All right, this one actually is my personal favorite. My Owl Software wants me to sign off with, I should probably do it with a voice, "Gods will be dragged screaming from the void," which probably needs a finger point.
It's catchy. It could go on shirts and coffee mugs. I think we should do it.
It could.
I'm not angry at our listeners. I'm just very disappointed.
You're very disappointed. So I think we do still need a good sign-off for this. Next week, we'll be posting on Twitter how we'll be handling the show this week. With it coming up for E3, we are breaking down the magnificence that is the GameSpot studio and shipping it to the LA Convention Center. So what we may end up doing next week is filming a show but not doing it live and putting it up. But we will post on Twitter what our plans are. So follow us at GameSpot. Meanwhile, we will be at E3 and we'll be posting Quoted for Truth from the press conferences and talking about the news that's coming out of the show down there. So that's the first week in June. So we very may well see you next week, but not live. Thanks for watching, and that's it for this week.